Hello, I'm Ursaline Bryant, and you are listening to SyFy Sistas.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the SyFy Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and I'm joined today by my sisters, Yvette Blackman-Tom.
Hello.
Sabrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
And Fran T.
What's happening, y'all?
What's happening? What's happening today, Fran, is what, y'all? Another fantastic show.
Of course.
Right? Of course, right? It's a given. Because today, especially, we have a woman that all of us admire so much. So there's a lot of little fangirling going on here. And I'm going to save for our audience, I'm going to save the best for last. But, if you are around of a certain age, I'm going to say, then like you will have seen some really stellar moments with her on your screen in the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew Mysteries, which I watched all the time. I loved that show. And in Flood Streets, and one very memorable episode, one of my all-time favorite episodes of The Golden Girls.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh God, I love that episode so much. And Seinfeld, and Grace Under Fire, and Doogie Howser, and more recently in the movie All or Nothing. But I want to tell you guys, our fans, we know her as Tryla Scott, Captain Tryla Scott.
Yes.
From Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm talking about none other than Ms. Ursaline Bryant. Welcome to the show.
Yes, ma'am.
So much. Thank you so much for having me.
We are delighted that
You want to see four sisters like busting in smiles over here. We're sitting over here like, we got the captain. We got the
From the
captain.
first time I met you, that has not changed. I love it.
Yes, the captain in the house. Yes.
So, I mean, you played this woman that means so much in our fandom. Yvette,
Yes.
run it down for people why Tryla Scott is important to us.
Well, mainly because we didn't have a black female captain, and Tryla Scott came on, and they made sure we knew that she was the smartest, the best. She made the captain before anyone else, and that said a lot because we always knew Kirk had made it. Jean-Luc had been captain forever, but no, Tryla was. She was the one. And it was a black woman, and she was strong. She was no nonsense, and we only saw her for one episode, but never forgot her.
Mm-hmm.
Never forgot her. Yep.
Indelible.
Oh, my. How
Yes.
wonderful is that?
I mean,
Oh, my.
the impact was real. When you went out for that role, did you care about whether or not that it was Star Trek, or was it just another role? Or did you see like having this black woman, a captain in the future, as something important?
Okay, so now I'm going to fan out because I am and have always been a Star Trek fan.
Yay!
So, I mean, back in the day with
All right
Leonard
now.
Nimoy and that whole number. So when I discovered that I won out on that audition, I was in my world. It was not like a Star Trekker, a Trekker doing Star Trek. So I loved it.
That's awesome.
You were wearing that uniform, let me tell you.
I'm telling you what.
Ooh, one of a kind. They fitted it on. They fit it on your body.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
The body has changed a bit, but I love. It's a beautiful fit.
Mhm. You're so fierce. When you appeared on that screen, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh, who is this
Right.
beautiful, like imposing, commanding woman? Like she's gorgeous and she's smart and she's like, I didn't
Yeah.
know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the ones that they had to call in there to say, like, what the heck is going on? We better call Tryla.
That's right. That's it. Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember when I first saw you, and I don't think I realized what I was seeing. I was so like, oh, wait, I wasn't expecting. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And I think once I rewatched Star Trek: The Next Generation when it came on Netflix, no, maybe when it was on BBC, I'm not sure. But then when I saw it enough, I was like, I really kind of just, I got more of it. Like that little scene just, I mean, you just took that whole episode for me and made it your episode. And I mean, I don't know if anybody else thought that, but I was always following you, and the more I watched that episode, the more, and that is a really good episode.
It's a good
And,
episode.
yeah, but you definitely steal the scenes in that one. Definitely. Oh, love that
So
episode.
much. It's really easy when you believe in what you're doing. And like I said, I have such a deep affinity for Star Trek. I was truly in my world. I knew I was Captain Tryla Scott. I've just been waiting for the opportunity. And it was just amazing that that was the last show of that season.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very interesting as well. So the timing was right. And it just appealed to not only myself, but everybody else. And it wasn't until years later that I did that and I started going out and meeting people. And I found out what an impact she had made. And that makes me so proud.
We did a Hanging Chads. I was just thinking that would have been. I always want to know what's her story. I want to know more. I'm sad that we didn't see her again, but I think her backstory should be told. I know in the books they are, but I would like to see it on screen. Definitely.
Yeah.
At one of the conventions, I met a young man who wrote a story about Captain Sisko.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
our brother.
Yeah.
And he integrated me in that storyline as the love interest.
Yeah.
And I haven't completely read the book. I just read the chapter he pointed out to me.
Right.
But it's fascinating. I said, okay, here was her continuation.
Okay.
But what happened, they started to bring in other people, and I think after that they brought in Whoopi Goldberg.
Right.
Yes.
She came the next season. Yeah. The next episode after yours, we were introduced to Whoopi and Guinan. Yeah. Yep.
That young man that wrote that book is Derek Tyler Attico, and he's a dear friend of ours, and he's actually part of our SyFy Sistas Inc. family, and he's got his own show on our YouTube channel called Soul of the Story.
Yeah,
and he does he's wonderful. He's amazing.
I am so glad you refreshed my memory, because when you said that name, he popped right into my head. I met him at the convention, and you are absolutely right. He is incredible.
He is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had him spinning that day.
Oh my God, yes. So true.
He still talks about it.
So funny watching Derek's face. He was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
I remember he looked back at us like, did you see me? Did you see me?
He was just in awe of you. He was just like, oh my gosh. And because when I saw the character in the book, I perked up. I'm like, Captain Scott. I mean, you weren't, but you was no nonsense. And you just like, okay, look, I'm going to do so-and-so. You can say he if you want to, but I got this to do. I'm like, that's her. That's her. That's how she got to be captain so fast.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's amazing that you said like I used the word impact, and I used the word how I felt when I put that uniform on. That made all the difference in the world. To be associated with that, to have your captain bars on and the whole number, and it was just that was my duty to walk in there and know who I was.
Mm.
Fully
That
pipped.
star system.
Fully pipped.
That's
That's
right.
right. Fully pipped when we met her.
Right, right. We had a. I actually wrote a story. I wrote an article, and it was called "Surviving the Center Seat: Black Female Captains from Tryla Scott to Carol Freeman." And we talked about the fact that, when a fully pipped Black woman comes on Star Trek, she gonna be dead by the end of that episode. Or she was dead when we met her.
Met her. Dead when we met
So
her.
we were pointing out, like, y'all, what's up with this? Because when you appeared, we had a little disappointing things going on with Black appearances on Star Trek Next Gen. We had Michael Dorn and we had LeVar Burton. And as I've always said, you had two of the most handsome Black men in America, and you put makeup on them and put things on them to hide how beautiful they were. Okie dokie. And then we had some questionable episodes. Things were like, oh, I don't know what's going on here with Next Gen. But then we had Conspiracy, and we were like, all right, okay, maybe this is going to be okay.
Right. Maybe this will be all right.
All right, okay. Buckle up, Buttercup. This might be all right.
But I absolutely agree. You are right on it. That is exactly what happened on the screen. And it's why we're there, but we need to be played down. And I think that's the story to us being in this industry. So how do we go about getting around that or going through that? Because I'm not seeing anything that's really making me really want to stick in there. Even today,
Really,
we have a lot of characters, but we have characters that are there and then they're torn down. I don't know. So I'm going to take it back to Sophia Stewart, the writer of The Terminator, and what's the other show? Help me, please.
Matrix.
The Matrix. Mm-hmm. It's like she is a hidden jewel that we don't know about. We look at that because we have these people out here, these brothers, talking about they were the architects of that show. And she gets lost. We get lost in translation, lost in transition, and nobody really tout us. And I know what I meant to say is that, they actually did not kill me.
No.
They only stunned me.
Right. Stunned.
Yes.
We weren't sure what happened.
The door was there, but the writing didn't come through. So I cannot say what happened. It was unfortunate for all of us.
And such a terrific character. I mean, it was just like, how could you, that's our hanging Chad. Like, how could you let that character that you gave us all these things and then you just, boop, I don't know what happened. What happened? So, at least we sort of had a resurrection of that sort of character with Michael Burnham, but she was a different character. Right. She wasn't Tryla Scott.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yes, very different.
I wanted to.
I had the opportunity of meeting her as well.
Mm.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's wonderful. Yeah. But it was two different entities. So you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder. A couple of things that I'm thinking about as I'm listening to you guys talk, and it's a lot, so I'm going to throw it out there, but you guys bear with me, and we'll see which one sticks. Okay. My thoughts went like this. First, they went to when you were talking about putting on that uniform, and that you had to embody her, you had to walk with it, knowing who you were. And what it made me think of was, especially, at any time for a Black woman in this country, how many of us get to feel that? I mean, there's more of us now who get to feel that sense of embodiment, that sense of personal groundedness and self-knowledge. But when that episode came out, I mean, we almost never, ever saw a Black woman in command anywhere, on television or in life, and I was thinking about that experience itself and what a beautiful gift that must have been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You are absolutely right. I call it my treasure, because I have had so many people walk up to me and said, "You have no idea how much you have affected me. I brought my daughter in the room when you appeared on that screen because I wanted her to know that we are there, few and far between." So it is the gift that keeps on giving, and I have to figure out how to shed more light upon her.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the conventions, but how do I really go about bringing this character alive, so that people can understand that I'm here in the whole number and you can do this too? How do we, when that door is open? It is not. So, how do we go about opening that door, letting that character walk through again, as graced as she is in age, no matter what it is, so that our young people can continue to see that type of image?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
was
I think there's a lot of ways. I think there's so many um hmm.
the producer. You got a producer hat on right now. She's.
Right.
I can just see the wheels
Yep, you can
turning.
see the wheels
I'm
turning.
sitting here like writing a screenplay. You should producer. We're like, okay, Yvette.
She's like,
What
well,
we gonna do?
we've got several writers in the midst.
We really do have a lot of writers. I mean, I think that's the way to do it because
Like
there's
Derek,
so
like Derek,
like Derek
Like
put
yourself.
already like yourself, hello. Just start putting stuff out, start doing backgrounds, like, because we just had Section 31, whatever you think about it. It still brought in a different timeline, and I believe it's a timeline that character would be in, just like probably just like what's Captain, who was in there? What captain
Garrett.
was in? Garrett, right?
Mm-hmm.
She might be a young cadet, but
Mhm.
that's a way to bring, too bad there's no, because you're saying she was stunned, so she would still be
Yeah.
around for lower
Mm-hmm.
decks,
We need a
Yeah.
so to be
Tryla
some
Scott
admiral,
anthology
right?
Mhm.
And
calling
there's
all Star Trek.
so many things that the
Oh, yeah.
captains do, a book about the captains and only the captains that we don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
You
That
got
kind of
some
thing.
names.
That's a great
All
idea.
right, now stop giving away ideas for free. We're gonna have the rest of this conversation off air, y'all, because
Off screen.
next
Off
thing you
screen.
know, somebody that don't look like us gonna be like, "Hey, I
you
got
know
this
what?
great idea."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we
Mhm.
got it on. We know we did it. We know it was us. So. But
Well,
yeah, we
hey.
do have. We've had that happen before. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I know
But
you have.
On
I-
TV. And we're
yeah,
not going to go into specifics of it, but somebody said something
No, please,
did a
you
whole
don't
no.
have
show
to.
about
I am
Mm-mm.
aware of how it
That's okay.
works.
All right.
Yeah.
it.
So,
Did he say that? He did say
the
that.
Stop it.
the other thing that I was thinking about, what led me after we were thinking about putting on that uniform, and I was just thinking about overall, because you've had a really long career, and you started in this industry. Did you ever see Hollywood Shuffle?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, that's my jam. I love that
I
movie.
love it. Yes.
I mean,
I
and
did
I
see it
was thinking of
many
like,
times.
yeah,
Me
like
too.
the times that when you started and when you were coming up in the 70s and the 80s in this business, I kept thinking that you probably had to go through a lot of Hollywood Shuffle type of moments. Or did you?
Well, it was very interesting. I think they just didn't know what to do with me. They didn't understand my sound, first of all. And
Mm,
I said, "Oh, that's very interesting because we all have different sounds. So, what is it you're looking for?" So, I didn't fit in the boxes.
mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm.
I did not fit in the boxes. I was usually taller than everybody else in the room. Um, and the sound they could not understand. And they want to pigeonhole you. And instead, if they can't pigeonhole you, then they don't use you.
Mm.
Uh,
Mhm.
I did have a lot of Hollywood shuffles. As a matter of fact, I was recalling something just yesterday. Sir Sidney Portier.
Oh.
He was casting for Love of Ivy, I think it was. And I went up on that call. He called me back and he called me back and I called me back. And then he says, I just can't do it. And I said, what do you mean? He says, if I put you on the screen opposite me, I'm going to look like your grandfather. And I just said to him, Mr. Portier, there is makeup. There's hair.
Yep.
And I know there's costuming. He wanted to do it, but he couldn't. So I ran into that a lot. We love it. We want to use you, but no, we're going to go in this direction instead. So I ran into quite a bit of that, which is why I spend a lot of time on the boards. I go to the theater and I get to do so many characters that are wide and a variety of things. You don't get quite as stuck in that. You don't get paid quite as well, but still you have the opportunity to play your craft.
Yeah.
But that came up just yesterday, and I said, and that's been the luck of my draw. They don't see it, and when they can't see it, you just don't get that role.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with Viola Davis the other day, and she said something that really shook me up about Black female actresses and the training that they go through, and that how they're trained to act in white parts, like they have to do Shakespeare and Chekhov and Ibsen and all of that, but they're not doing like the Blacks play. They're not doing Hansberry. They're not doing this. They said so. Black actresses have to be able to do A Raisin in the Sun and do The Cherry Orchard. Where white actresses don't have to do that. So when you say you go to the boards, what has been your experience with that kind of like dichotomy of what kind of play you're going to do, what kind of piece you're going to be in?
Well, how do I say this? I have done everything from, nobody would ever cast me in a mother role until I went to the boards.
Wow.
These are wonderful pieces that nobody really knows of because they're done in small theaters. We don't have the backing to get it out, so it has a run, but it's a local run.
Okay.
So, I think the most wonderful piece that I did, it's Calafia. This is the woman that California is named
after.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, when
she was, and she was not an elderly woman. She was a stately woman. She was not a young someone. This was someone of color. The Amazons, anytime you see Amazons portrayed on film, they are not us.
Right.
But that's the whitewashing that always takes place. So for me to do Calafia and have the history, I did the homework, I did all of that research, and we were called the Calafians, and we were women who were dark. Doing the classics, there's a place here, it no longer exists here. It was called the Globe Theater. And all they did was Shakespeare. So we did Shakespeare's sonnets, but we did the Dark Lady sonnets. Shakespeare wrote about the Dark Ladies because he fell in love with a Moor named Lucy.
Yes, he did.
What?
I did not know y'all were doing those.
Where's my sonnet book? What?
Lucy the Moor. I think they start at number 152 and go up to 167.
I will be reading those tonight.
We're looking
I will be looking for those tonight.
Wait, say it again. They start where?
150.
I believe it's 152.
152.
All right now.
And there's one of them that just tells you what it is. It starts with in the age when beauty was black.
Yep, I know that one.
Okay.
I've heard of these, but I thought it was some kind of metaphor. I didn't know they were actual blacks. No, that's Lucy, what that meant. Oh boy.
He was talking about his love, Lucy the Moor. or at least
Oh
one
no.
of his loves, because he was married, but he fell in love with this woman who happened to look like you and I.
Mhm.
Good God.
And he wrote about her. So we're disguised. We're out there. And I know there are a lot of young people that are in this business that don't do that deep research. So they don't know. They think Shakespeare is a European thing. Nope, it's not. So we're there, we're in disguise, and we just have to, I don't know that when you see something, you see yourself in it, no matter what color they're portraying it to be.
Okay.
We are the crux of the issue. We are the person that everybody wants to be. We are that person that you emulate over and over and over without using us.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh,
The
And
Amazon, the Californian Lucy.
California. Oh
the
man.
Calafians,
The Calafian.
and
Calafians.
her name is Calafia.
Calafia.
That's the name. Okay, that.
Califia. And they have many
Golly.
renditions of her, and they look like you.
Okay.
Listeners, if y'all could see all the SyFy sisters right now, like taking notes,
Writing,
like we're
sitting here
all at our
writing
desks,
everything
like
down,
writing it all down.
jaws dropped, mouths open, getting a
Yeah.
lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Captain Scott.
That's right. Our captain.
Like we're sitting
And
at the
that's
academy in the first row.
All of us in the first row.
All of
I
us in
am,
the first row.
Yes,
I
Captain
am,
Scott.
yes, I am so grateful for Captain Scott.
We
And
are
so
too. Well,
we,
can we
yeah.
go back? I want to ask you about when you sort of got bit by the acting bug, or was it something like innate in you? Like, did you start off young, or what was your story there?
I think this was something that I came here with. I call myself an extroverted introvert.
I
Very,
totally
very,
understand that.
Most Scorpios are.
yeah, oh, okay. I was very quiet growing up because I was a reader and I would read all the time, all the time, all the time. And I would try to have these conversations, and everybody around me would call me, okay, that's Ursie. That's Ursuline. She's a little crazy. Okay. No, I found out that I was just doing research. So innately, it was a part of me. I move. My first love is movement. I would say dance, except when you say dance, then you attach it to the Europeans. I say movement because who invented the drum?
That would be us.
How
Yeah.
did you get that rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
So there we are. So my first love is always music, and then there's poetry, and then there's theater. Um, oh, I lost my train of thought.
I was
But
in the beginning.
okay, I would sit at the dinner table when I had a captive audience, and I would just go into character,
Oh, I love it.
earning my name. Crazy. Because it was nobody to relate to, but I would just choose a character, whatever was in my head, I would pop out and I would be that person at the dinner table.
Oh my God.
Love
So
it.
Well, I'm sure.
so
Love that.
it started very, very early, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't stop doing because I know that it felt good. So by the time I left home, which is Washington, D.C., and traveled to New York and was studying at the Negro Ensemble
Oh
Company,
my
I
goodness.
knew I had found myself. I said, okay, this is what I've been preparing for all along, and this is what I'm going to pursue. So it was there, didn't know how to harness, didn't know how to really appreciate it, but knew that it was a part of me. And I just had to hold on to it until I found the right space and met some wonderful people there, and then kept going and always taking classes and always learning more about who you are so that you can step away from it when you need
Um,
to I hear a lot of people say, I just couldn't get rid of the character. Then something is amiss there.
Mm.
You should be able to walk on that stage, give it everything you've got, and be that character and leave it on that stage.
Mm.
Not allow it to. We've lost so many people who have gone into a mental, emotional thing because they could not get rid of some of the characters that they played.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the flip side of it as well. You really have to understand who you are so that you can, and even knowing who you are, you get pulled off the track. But if you really know who you are, you can always come back. And that's always been my advice to anyone who has asked about this business. And I miss teaching it because I can't get that information out. It is not about you, it is about you coming through and breathing life into something so that everybody can enjoy that part of themselves as they watch you.
Mm.
Wow. Okay. Like another, I wish a screenshot of Four Faces going, whoa.
I mean, I just feel, I feel
deep.
I feel so blessed in this moment to be having this conversation with you. First of all, like, SyFy Sistas, we always say it's part of our mission to shine a light onto Black creativity and Black thought and Black expression. And in that mission means that we say our names for ourselves, right? We teach our history. We tell people, we keep ourselves alive and relevant to us, right? And I feel like in this moment, this is exactly why we exist, because we know you as Captain Scott, and we knew you from these other roles on TV, but we didn't know you, and I think you are a treasure, and
Oh.
you are somebody who is so important to us and whose voice should be heard, that I feel so grateful that we have this small platform right now to help get your voice out. You are so important to the world. I'm feeling very moved right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Is
very emotional right now.
it's
Because that
okay.
was so, what anybody that's trying to create anything in, like you
Mhm,
said, dance, movement, whatever, producing, writing,
mhm.
that's one of the things that's so hard to learn, that you were, even as a writer, you're writing from yourself. You have to know
Right.
yourself. There's stories that come out of you, can only come out of you.
Right.
They can
Right.
only come from you, and
Mhm.
you gotta be brave enough to know yourself and know what you want to say. And what you just said to me, and I'm taking it like, yeah, you just said it to me. I have been so inspired by the people that have come on this show. I mean, I know we are so happy to have this platform, but because these nascent creations that I have in my head have just, like, they burst because people say things like you just said, and like
Mm.
put your finger right in my heart to say,
Mm.
you've got to figure out who you are so you
Mhm.
don't lose yourself, so that you can
Right.
bring what's in you to the world. And I'm like, did I just get it right? I mean, did I just,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
okay.
And then I
Absolutely.
feel
I
like,
mean,
I'm sorry, go
even the
ahead.
physicians say, know thyself.
Yeah.
Know thyself. It's not lost on any genre or any profession to know thyself and love thyself, whatever that
Mm.
self may be. We have everything with this is good, bad, and different. Don't know, want to know, can know, don't. We have it all. So it's not that you have to tread one path, but if you tread that path knowing who you are, it's a bit more simple.
Mm.
Simpler. I am, you talk about this platform. I thought I was going to be late. I had an appointment and I went, oh my gosh, running down the sidewalk. I said,
Oh,
I
no.
cannot be late for this. So I am so pleased and happy that you do have this platform. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just cutting a few onions. It's okay.
And let me give you a little bit of advice there. Don't hold it back. Let the tears roll. Let them stream. I think that's one thing that we carry everything inside, and we become burdened with these aches in our heart and things that manifest inside because we think we don't have the platform to let it out. There's an exercise that it's a life exercise, is that you just go up and down your voice and let out a sigh, and that sigh gets to be a scream. Let it out. So let those tears roll because you have earned shedding those tears. And if something is impacting your heart, impacting your soul, because that's where you want to go. You want to get in touch with your soul. We're so separated from our soul self.
Yes.
So when it comes up, don't deny it. Let it come out. It's all good. And we've been told to sit on it. No, we don't have time to do that anymore.
Girl, you were so you said nothing but a word on that one.
I ain't got time for that no more.
No more, no more, no more.
As the elders used to say, you said a mouthful.
Yeah, you said a mouthful right there. I love that you are also from Washington, D.C. I remember when we met each other at Star Trek Las Vegas, and we both realized that. Well, I moved here when I was 1, so I claim it. I was born just a little bit down the road in Newport News, Virginia, but I've been here my whole life, and I think it's Washington is a special place to be from, especially if we were here while while it was still Chocolate City, which it is no longer at all. And as a matter of fact, you say Chocolate City to some young people, and they don't know what you're talking about. They don't even know what that means. But did DC play what type of role did it play with you when you were growing up here? Like how old were you when you left?
I left and went to New York when I was about 20.
Okay.
Spent about 6 years there and came out here in my late 20s. And speaking of Washington, D.C., it is, I call it up south.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Yep. That's exactly what it is.
They took 10 miles from Virginia, 10 from Maryland. So we're smart to create that capital city. So that 10 by 10 square is Southern. My roots are Southern. I was born in Washington, D.C., but my people are from South Carolina on both sides.
Okay. On both sides. Wow.
Both sides.
Both sides, South Carolina. So they bought all of that. They bought everything with them. I mean, I grew up with my great grandmother who knew how to go out and who plant the herbs and pick the herbs and brew them for tea or whatever needed to be done. I had all of that knowledge around me. And then so I think that's why I was so quiet. I would just sit and listen and watch. And my grandfather, who I feel was the shaman, his dreams were so vivid. He would be up in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, walking the floor, rubbing his hands and just speaking.
Wow.
And I could hear him through the floorboards, and that was a captive audience to me. And later on, I understand that he was in touch with his creator. Every morning, So that's the kind of energy I grew up with. Washington, D.C. is like it's a beautiful space. But when I was growing out, if you walk outside that little downtown space, you're in the biggest ghetto in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the biggest city that is uncared for in the world. And then they started cleaning up. But it's just filled with all of this energy. And I'm going to share this with you because when I found it, I understood why I loved it, but I couldn't stay there. Washington, D.C., from all of our beautiful monuments and things that are down by the Capitol and the White House, that area in particular, it's laid out in a pentagram, which is an energy that is so powerful that if you don't stay close to your creator, it will take you under.
Oh, Lord.
And take you out or take you over. And then I also love it because before it became a Washington, D.C., it was all of us there.
Yep.
And I'm going to use the word, I'm going to say Aboriginal. I'm going to say originals because when you say Native Americans, you think something else. No, it wasn't them, it was us. We were patrolling the Potomac. You couldn't get through us. It was actually our city. That's why they had to start calling it Chocolate City at one point because they know the history of it, but nobody teaches that history.
Yeah.
And it's all gone now.
Yeah.
And the Potomac is something that we don't even think about anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a little river separating one space from the other.
And the Anacostia.
Yeah.
Anacostia, absolutely.
And the Anacostan Indians who were literally wiped out.
Yes.
Literally wiped out.
Exactly. They wiped them out completely.
Wiped them out like it was genocide on an entire tribe of people. There's so much so that the paltry few, and I'm talking like maybe 20, 50, like less than 50 survivors around there had to go and integrate into other tribes in Maryland. They literally wiped them out and took that and stole that land.
Took them out.
That's where my family, and that's where my mother lives now. That's where our business is, and that's where the house is, and you know, and the Anacostia area is like used to be all white. And my mother lives right across the street from the Frederick Douglass house.
Oh,
and she lives on the first parcel of land that was ever sold from his estate. It's really powerful, and we think that the Underground Railroad might have run through there. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful space. I'll say that. When we first moved in, you could feel folks there, and you still can feel them in our basement. The basement housed a preschool and stuff. There's a lot of history in that land. But what I was going to say was that what people don't realize that this is the plot of land that Frederick Douglass had, not a plot of land, excuse me, his many hundreds of acres, many hundreds of acres when he married his white wife, his second wife.
Yeah.
And that land came from her family, and that was all his land. And when people come up to the house today, it sits on a hill, and they see this gorgeous house on this hill, and like maybe an acre of land around it, and that's it. And they think, oh, this is what the Negro had. No, in those days, this was the countryside of the nation's capital. Anacostia was. And when you're talking estates, you're talking these estates that were many, many, many acres. And so he was one of the landed gentry. And he was powerful because he had so much land. And people don't really know that history either. It's just that Washington is a fascinating city. And I think that when you are from here, it is we're different inside. You know, we're different. We're a little different than other places. You're surrounded by all the politics and everything, and you're very used to it. But you're also surrounded with this deep, what you've been tapping into, what you've been talking about, this deep, deep Black cultural experience. And others, you know, and like as you said, Aboriginal experience that makes up the goulash that's Washington, you know, and it's in me. Like I can't not be a Washingtonian, you know. I can go live other places, but you'll always know that I'm a Washingtonian. There's a realness about those of us who are from DC that we don't. You know, we don't fake the funk and we shoot straight from the hip. I mean, and then there's the other ones who are very practiced at silver tongues and putting on smiles when there's no smile to be had. And you have to know that too.
Yeah.
In order to survive this city.
And the other thing about the city is, are you familiar with the lily ponds? As you go out
in the
like
botanical gardens.
Oh yeah,
botanical gardens. That's all sacred land. The land is sacred.
I used to live near there.
Yeah. And I just found that out recently. I just wanted to know why I was always drawn there. And I remember when my mother passed away, she wanted her ashes scattered there. And we got that done as well. Of course, you're not supposed to, but we did. We got that done for her. But I said, well, now I understand this is sacred land.
Oh, dear. And it's just
Where
beautiful.
Yes. I mean, this beautiful oasis right on the edge as you begin to go deeper in Maryland.
Right. Because I had a boyfriend that was a Washington, D.C. policeman, and they could only live but so far over the line of Washington, D.C. So we were like one street into Maryland. You know, I mean, really, I mean, if I look that way, that's DC, but we were in Maryland. And that's why I was so close to the botanical gardens. But, you know, so I was like, well, no, I'm in Maryland, but not really. Not really.
I don't know where we live because the Maryland DC line actually cut the house that I live in half.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff like that over there.
What?
So I actually
the state line?
Right, you know from the color of the street sign changes. You're like, you can look and see what color's the street sign. Where am I?
Wow.
It's a fascinating place. It's absolutely.
Oh my God! When I first got here, let me tell you, I was so confused and lost, but I figured it out.
Yeah,
our botanical gardens here in Norfolk, the way that they started, and this has just come out in the last 15 years. There was a program called the WPA. And they went in, and it was all swampland, and there were women.
Oh, excuse me. If y'all don't know what the WPA is, folks, listeners, Google it.
Google it, yeah.
I was like, are you going to tell people?
No. I'm going to let them do some homework.
Going with that one. Okay.
Let them do some homework. Like my parents used to say, go look it up.
Go look it up.
You see those encyclopedias over there?
Yeah, dictionary. So it was mostly women. I think they said it was like 5 or 6 men, but it was mostly women who went in and dug all that stuff up. It was swampland.
Get out of here.
Swamp down there. Yeah.
It was all
nasty.
Yes, it was all swamp.
Snakes.
And they dug it, and they had everything.
People.
And they dug it all up, and then they had to plant the azaleas that was in there. And this was mostly women that did this. They didn't show. And then after they did all this stuff back with the WPA, Black folks couldn't go to the botanical gardens.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. I know, right?
I mean, that was a given.
So they just told a story, I guess, about maybe 15 years ago, and I wrote an article for the local Black newspaper here, took pictures and everything. So they have
I want to see that, friend.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. They
I
have a
do. I
statue.
do. I don't know that. I mean, my father's from Norfolk, and I never heard that
Yeah,
story.
yeah. We didn't know it either. And I've been here
And he was
almost.
in the WPA.
Okay, so he might have been one of those men.
No, he was he was in Vermont, which explains a lot about me.
Oh, okay. So they have a statue, they have a plaque, and then they finally put a big sculpture of a shovel, saying what was what. But it was like that happened, and they never told that story till about 15 years ago.
I'm gonna Google that stuff.
Wow.
Please do. Norfolk Botanical Gardens, WPA.
Wow.
And these women, I think they earn maybe about $5 a day. Maybe.
Well, if at all. And you know what else they did not tell us? The District of Columbia. Well, who's Columbia?
Oh, Columbia, the gem.
Does anybody know
I don't know.
is?
I just know from the song.
No.
I found out that Columbia, like I was talking about the goddess that California is named after that looks like us. Well, Columbia is another goddess.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are down on the White Monument grounds and you look to the right, you'll see a building there, but you'll see a statue that's in there. That's the goddess Columbia. And they didn't tell us about her either.
Okay. More research.
I love to read. I love to research. And I found that out along with when I was discovered what the lily ponds were, how sacred they were.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, no wonder he wants to change the name of this.
Wow.
He don't even know that.
What?
He don't even know what DC means.
I'm just reading. I'm gonna have to do some more
Googling.
Yeah, some more research though, because the first thing,
because you stymied us. You stymied us.
Well,
right
and
now.
the first thing that comes up, and if you Google Goddess Columbia, right?
Mm-hmm.
The AI overview thing that comes up first. Columbia is a personification of the United States, often depicted as a goddess-like figure. So, I mean, it's not even saying like who she actually really is. Okay, so that's interesting. So we're gonna do. I'm gonna do some more homework, y'all. More homework.
I found my stuff out before AI was so popular.
Columbia Motion Pictures. You
like
see her.
Real research.
I mean, she's holding this.
She's there, absolutely, and they keep changing her, but that's not who she is.
No,
exactly.
But it's not who she is.
I think that's so interesting. Talk about whitewashing.
Absolutely. but you know how it is personified. No matter what it is we do, they try to emulate us, so they know somewhere within them, they know and they understand. And then there are those who made those moves and made those decisions. They absolutely know.
No.
Absolutely.
They absolutely
That's
know.
why they made why they made those rules and all that stuff. They know.
That's right.
Well, because we're entirely too powerful when we're in our full knowledge of ourselves, and and full power. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for this group and the conversations that we get to have, because every time when we're together, when we're with guests, whatever we do, I get to know more about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I get to know more about who we are, and that's called freedom. Like the more, my mind is less and less colonized every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an active endeavor to uncolonize oneself. We have been brought up in this system, and it's something that even though parts of me might be kind of free, there's always more free to be.
Absolutely.
And And I find that, like, when you were talking about, like, as if you know yourself and you cannot be moved so much, not only can you not be moved, but you can operate and work within this world, to let your true self shine, right,
Mhm.
without any hindrance. And I think that's been a journey that I've been on my whole life,
Mhm.
to varying degrees of success. Often I
Mhm.
find I'm able to look back and look at the and know that, I had a lot of convictions, and did not have the wherewithal to stay true to those things. I've let myself, I can look back now and see how I've let myself be molded in somebody else's image over and over again, as opposed to
Mhm.
standing in my own truth, starting with my parents.
Mhm. Mhm.
Our parents want us to behave a certain way and da 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 da. And there's good reasons for most of that, right? But
A
at
lot of
the
times to protect you.
Yeah.
right, it's
Mhm.
protected, but also at the same time, like when you were relating the story about inhabiting these different characters at the table and stuff, and
Mm.
that spoke to me because I used to do that as a child, but
Mhm.
a lot of that was beaten out of me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like, sit
absolutely.
down, act straight, be good, hush, be seen and not heard, and all these things, and
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
these ways in which we
Are
try to
stifled.
stifled and try to direct our thinking and our being, and
Mhm.
that comes into our thinking about ourselves. And so I don't know, like, what's been going on over the past couple of months. I've been thinking about this so much lately, about all those ways in which I'm trying to be more free now,
Mm.
and looking at where these things started, and how I can loose those chains, and get rid of them, and just be me, and say the things, like, there's so many times during a day that I don't really say the thing that I know that I should be saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
You bite it back.
Whether to not hurt somebody's feelings, or to avoid conflict, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it's all a lessons to me in learning to stand in my truth unapologetically, but without doing harm in the world, but just
Yeah.
standing and existing in my own truth.
It's a
I
lifelong journey,
understand.
you
Mhm.
know, lifelong, because you gotta, like you said, your parents mold you a certain way, and then now you have to go out there and find yourself. I think that's why teenagers have such a hard time, because you already molded these people, these humans, and now these humans need to find out who they really are. And then you have parents going, no, don't do that. I've done it. These are things I've done myself, because I'm trying to, make sure they're safe,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because I know the world,
Mm-hmm.
and, being a little black girl is not a safe place. This
Mhm.
is not a safe place. The world is not a safe place for a little black girl
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
besides
right.
America. So,
Mhm.
but then, these children have to fight their way back. That's how I see it. I guess I had to do the same thing. You have to fight your way back to who you are supposed to be. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a
Mhm.
lifelong journey.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
And I feel
lucky
like
enough to live a long time, you'll live several lifetimes in one lifetime.
that's
I've
right.
lived
Yeah.
several
There's
Yep.
several
lifetimes.
people.
Several people right here. So, and then you get to that point where somebody says, "Hey, vet," you're like, "Oh shit, that is my name."
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I
I'm
feel
not
like not
I'm
just
not
our.
mommy or Mrs. Tom, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah, it's like not just parents either. Like, I don't mean to sound like I'm dumping on parents, but the world, our society, our
Yeah, yeah,
culture
yeah,
tells
yeah,
us these different things. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I gave
Mhm.
up all that stuff
Yeah.
starting that, like, seriously, y'all. I went against the grain probably by the time I was 12 years old.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 12 years old, I
Yep.
questioned a lot of stuff because I am 70 years old.
Mhm.
So I questioned stuff at 12. And I'm not going to go into the deep, exactly what I'm talking about,
Right.
but I questioned it, and they was like, "Oh, why you asking these questions?" And we, mysterious ways and blah 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 and all this stuff, and some things you just don't know, and and I question it, and it's like society says a girl's supposed to do this and a boy's supposed to do that, and why, and it's like I said to you, Tamia, one time, we were at a convention somewhere, and I said, "Shh, I gave up heels in the 80s." And you said, "I have no doubt that you did." Simply because, for one thing, I couldn't walk in them. They were uncomfortable, and they threw my back out. So I'm like, I'm not wearing this shit no more.
Absolutely.
Stop, but I still look good. But, I've been fighting since what society says I'm supposed to be for a long time.
Yeah.
And I find it refreshing most times, be who I am. So I understand.
Something came up for us. I believe that we all have a wounded little girl within us because of all the things that we were taught to do and they did not recognize the uniqueness with you and did not bring that out and nurture that so that you could truly be who you are. So that little girl is stuck in there, So if you can go back to her and say, what is it that you want to do? Who are you? And then meld the two together, and then we become whole that way. But I find that most of us have a little girl stuck inside of us that is trying to do everything for everybody else, but not getting to the point of who we are.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep. So before we close, because I'm looking,
stop crying again.
I know, I know. Because I'm looking at the time. Maybe it's, how do we find that little girl? How do we heal that little girl and let her be?
Well, don't censor yourself. If you're thinking thoughts, write them down on a piece of paper. Put yourself in a situation that you've always wanted to be in, and don't act the person that you think you are. Like those tears. Don't hold those tears back. Let them flow. Let whatever it is that you are feeling, not harming yourself or anyone else, but whatever it is you're feeling, don't censor it. Allow it to come out. If you want to skip down the street in the rain and kick off your shoes and just stand there and talk to your creator, do it. Of course, they will label you, but that's why that little girl is stuck. That's why she's hurt, because she can't blossom into the full person that she is, because we have too many people to satisfy. And I think if we become a little more selfish and dig deep, she will raise her head, and you will know it, because you can feel it. We're not just all of our senses. We have to get in touch with all of our senses. Most of us have one sense or the other that is stronger than the other. Find that sense and let that sense lead you back to that little girl, and then blossom.
Sense stronger than
writing that down.
Right.
Writing that down.
Is it seeing? Is it feeling? Is it hearing? Mine is smell. I can wake up in the morning and go, okay, hi, who's here? What's going on? And it was really prevalent when my grandfather was sick and I was living in New York and I couldn't get home, and my apartment he was there. And we communicated that way, and it was just amazing. We have all of this to work with, and we're stuck in a corner. So let it shine. Let it shine.
Just a little light of mine.
What is this? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think mine is smell, because I can definitely, I can have so many memories. I know I told you this before, like my mother had a big cedar closet where she kept her furs. All right. But so I can remember sitting in that cedar closet waiting for her to come home, and just I can smell it now. I can smell her perfume. I can smell the fur. I can smell the cedar. I can smell my father's shoe polish. I could smell. I can smell the, that kiwi black polish.
Yes.
Open that can. I could smell it right now. And I could smell those Tipperellos that he had in his pocket.
Wow.
I'm telling you, I could tell. Because his coat was in there with her coat, and I would just sit there until scared. The little girl alone in the apartment. Don't open that door for nobody.
Right.
I'm gonna hide in the closet. You get home. Safe area. Somebody please get home. Me and Lloyd are in the closet.
Oh,
amazing!
Wow!
We're sitting in the cedar closet.
Honeysuckle does it for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that just took me back.
My
My grandmother's backyard in Newport News. Because there was a honeysuckle bush back there, and I used to go pick the fresh honeysuckles.
Yeah.
And get those big, yes.
Yeah. We're all from the Tidewater area. So
well, mine has always been coffee.
Okay.
Because I've been drinking coffee, I think, since I was 7.
Wow.
Yeah. But, back then it was coffee milk, more milk than coffee.
Yeah, okay.
Because my grandmother was the one that always had that percolator on the stove. And so that coffee would be, you would see it in the little lid. And I would sit there and just watch it. And, the smell, that I don't know what kind of coffee she used, but it ain't the coffee. I've never smelled that, it's just a rich flavor. And I am a coffee addict. I'm down to only 2 cups a day, so it's not so bad anymore. But that smell of coffee, just really, I don't know. Coffee doesn't it doesn't keep me awake. It kind of relaxes me more than anything. And I think that's what it is.
You're
just thinking about her, and how she made me safe, because it wasn't, always safe in my house. So, but my grandmother's house was always safe. And it was always a place where I was, I'm the only granddaughter. So, I was, that was my kingdom, my queendom. It was like, so it was, I think like you, Sabrina, it was a safe place.
Yeah.
And that's the smell. Yeah.
Mia, what's your sense?
I've been sitting here the whole time trying to figure out. I think mine, I don't know, mine is attached to music.
I was going to say hearing.
It's hearing, I was going to say it's hearing, but it's very specific with music.
I think it's words too.
I think it's words.
I think you hear words differently from other people.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
My observation.
True.
That is the correct answer.
I'm like, that's also true.
But I say music, and because you just come up with a word that I was like, ooh.
Words are my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Words are a true happy place.
And you pronounce them correctly, unlike me.
Unless they're broken.
Most of the time. Not all the time.
We've learned so much here today.
Yes, we have.
I mean,
this has been great.
It has been. It has been a real pleasure. I didn't even get a chance to ask you about the movie. I really want to know about this movie. Can I ask you about that real quick?
Please do.
Okay. The All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. Wow. His name is Charles Keith Campbell. He's a director, man of color, who has many, many stories within him. And this was based on a true story of 16 people who made it out of the Detroit area and came into their own. They left because they were enslaved. And I played the matriarch of one of I actually was the only fictional character in the piece. Everybody else is, I have to get you there is it's written up. I have to, and I can't remember the actual history that is based on. I will get that for you.
I would love that.
And I'll get it to you.
Okay.
But it was called All or Nothing. And it's so, he doesn't have the big studio behind him, and it's been out for several years. So he says he's shutting that down and starting with something else. But still, that's what happens when you've got all this creative energy flowing and you can't get through the system because of the money, because of the avenues that might be closed to you. So you do things like have people have screenings. So that's what he's been doing, like screening it around that Detroit area for the last 3 years. But I will I'll dig it up for you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Because it really sounded like a really interesting story. The synopsis that I saw.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay. It is a very interesting story. It's a very common story, but it's told from a different perspective. So it becomes interesting that way.
Yeah, I would like to
screen it.
See that.
Right? I would like to screen it.
Four wall. It's four wall.
See, this is how the SyFy Sistas can grow.
I will reach out to the director and let him know that we had this wonderful time together and that you're interested. And I'll get him to send it to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You can rent a theater and bring a movie in for a wall and sell tickets.
Yeah.
You can
he would love that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be great. Well, we got to stop talking about stuff on air.
I know. Stop talking, giving away ideas on air, y'all.
Yeah, we all know. Yeah.
I got a notepad that's going on to like
me too.
legal size, like like the legal paper.
That's right.
I have written down more in this conversation than I ever do.
Unfortunately, all I have is these little pads, so they're like on both sides.
Both sides.
I understand.
But I mean, that's the mark of a really a true conversation, what we call the language of the heart. You know, the language of the heart reaches the heart. And then when that happens, that's when all the neurons start firing and the battery's revved up, and this is a beautiful creative space to be in. And I bet you Sabrina's going to get off from here and start writing something.
Let it flow.
That's it.
I know my little 8-year-old, and they're like, my mother wouldn't let me write my stories.
Thank you so much for being here. I mean, what an honor.
This has been unreal.
You made my day. This is wonderful.
Lessons.
Be well, everyone. I look forward to seeing you real soon.
Yes.
So, Yvette, you want to let folks know where they can reach us and give us their thoughts about their little girls or boys that need to be healed, or anything else that we touched on today?
I sure can. You can find us at SyFySistas.com. That's SyFySistas.com. Join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. And the SyFy Sistas Book Club, both on Facebook. On Instagram and Threads, SyFy.Sistas. And under the blue skies at SyFy Sistas. For more interviews, the live show, and our infamous Top 10 series, subscribe to our YouTube channel at SyFy Sistas Inc. Become a patron of SyFy Sistas today at patreon.com/SyFy Sistas. The Trek Geeks presenting sponsor is Fansets. Go to fansets.com for pins and memorabilia from all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, for your exclusive 10% discount. Our friends at Stranger Comics, the best in fantasy comics, invite our listeners to visit strangercomics.com and use SFS to receive an exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and write a review. We may just read it on an upcoming episode.
And of course, I need to thank the baddest associate producers, in all the galaxies, in any galaxy. Thank you to Sailor Marge, Karen Dramera, and Stephanie Baker for all the work you do on our behalf and for helping to make this show possible. We love you guys so much, and thank you everybody for listening. Without you, there is no us, and we are so grateful for you. And we're out of here, friends. Peace, love, and hair grease.
Take care.
Hello, everyone. It's time for Shorty Shoutouts. This month, we would like to thank Zakia Graham, Tara Jefferson, Tara, Suke, Scott Jensen, Sandra Aponte, Peter Heisler, Olga Kravchuk, Olda Klein, Oils Galore, Muhammad Noor, Mike Nauer, Mike and Kristen Holton, Michael Stakem, L.J., Lenny, Jeffrey Cochran, Dave A. Gregory, Cleo Townsend, Brad DeMog, Bill Erickson, Bernadette Garcia Galvez, Ann Bradley, Allison Leach Hyde, Ayana May Tong, TJ Jackson Bay, Timothy Baum, Susan V. Gruner, Stephanie Dole, Rita Passant Neversole, Rhonda G., Liza Albright, Linda Anderegg, Kalia Zawaki, Casey Shafsky, Jamal Taylor, Howard Hogan, L.M., Cassandra, Bruce McMillan, Anna Post, Dafid Balston, Stephanie Baker, Sailor Marge, and Karen Dramera. Thank you so much for your continued support.